bring us a complement of the 5,000 first dose that is left. And that is how come we got it that way. So they eventually brought us the second supply of 5,000 doses, which actually made it first dose 10,000, second dose 10,000, as a complement to be able to utilize these vaccines. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Yes, Honorable Ajafo.
You make reference to Exhibit 8. Is that the letter dated yesterday, 14th July 2021?
Yes, please.
And can you read aloud the content of the Exhibit 8?
Honorable Minister, I send my best wishes and greetings to you. I write to you in reference to the vaccine supply agreement dated 9th March for the supply of the Sputnik vaccine in order to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. As you are aware, that we have already expedited the first delivery of Sputnik vaccines by supplying 20,000 doses to Ghana. However, since then, we have endured a series of challenges due to the late delivery of vaccine and limited availability of stock for both component 1 and 2. The shortage of supply of vaccines is a global issue, and the challenge being faced major vaccine suppliers. Furthermore, we are working in collaboration with our partners and are continuously deploying our best efforts to resolve the continuity of supplies for Ghana. In the interim, if the government wishes to source the vaccine from some other supplier until this issue is resolved, we are ready to cooperate with the government to meet the country's requirement. Given our cordial relationship with the government, we wish to terminate the vaccine supply agreement. We hope that when the supplies are restored, we will be able to re-engage on new terms and follow the due process for that purpose. We look forward to continuing working closely with the government to further enhance the bilateral ties existing between our two brotherly countries. Please accept my highest commitment and assurance in this regard.
So clearly, are you saying that this company that demonstrated proof by making available some doses is simply saying it is unable to supply? And as we speak, per this letter, there is no contract.
Honorable Chair, if that is the implication, that is so. They are not just terminating yesterday. After we have signed the contract, they gave us 2 weeks to supply the first 300,000 we ordered, based on our ability to give them letters of credit as part of the terms of the agreement. Our letters of credit delayed, and it got to them sometime. Then they came back after they have confirmed that they had run out of stocks. So Russia was going to supply them more stocks, and they will supply us within 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, we inquired, and they said they still hadn't got the supplies. So we started engaging them that if that is the matter, they should permit us amicably to withdraw from the contract so that we can do something different to find vaccines for ourselves, because our faith in them to supply was winning. So we continuously started pushing pressure on them. They gave us July delivery, and it's like we have been pressurizing them to give us the vaccines to no serious avail. And then yesterday, they sent us, actually they gave us verbal invitation, verbal notice that they will not be able to supply any longer. And so we requested, they then terminate the agreement, which they had actually done. So as we sit here, I believe there's no contract between the two of us.
So, Honorable Minister, what becomes of the payment you've made so far, if any?
Honorable Chair, to the best of my knowledge, we haven't done any payment as yet.
But when you issue an LC, it's an instrument of payment. And I don't know, I've read the LC, its site, but partial performance is allowed. They can draw on whatever that they've supplied. and then the rest of the
Honorable
instruments.
Chair, this LC was done on site. They cannot draw until we inform the bank that we have received, which we haven't done as yet.
So what becomes of the 20,000 that they supplied you?
We're going to re-engage after they have actually terminated a contract. The initial 300,000 was going to be short supplied by 20,000, and that is how we captured it. So understanding between the two parties. So now that they have terminated, we are now going to look at how we're going to pay for this one.
Now, if you look at it, you have SL Global. SL Global. The companies are two, Al Maktoum and SL Global. Is SL Global a Ghanaian company?
SL Global, to the best of my knowledge, is a Ghanaian company.
And what has become of that contract? And
we still have not been able to issue an LC for SL Global.
Honorable Ministers, please clarify. If you say you've still not issued an LC, it doesn't answer the question whether or not the contract subsists.
For now, the contract will exist. But because of the scarcity, again, SL Global is also giving us indications of the fact that they will not be able to supply. So we are still engaging.
Yeah, Honorable Minister, you've been preaching scarcity. Is there any other provision? As far as you are terminating this agreement, do you have any further proposals that reassures Ghanaians that your office is doing all it can in the midst of scarcity to still secure vaccines for the greater population?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me correct a little impression. We did not actually terminate this contract. The supplier voluntarily has terminated a contract because he's not in the capacity to supply. Now, like I said earlier, we have other arrangements in place. What motivated me, the ministry, to go this direction was the fact that supplies from the big platforms we were going to get were going to be delayed for nearly 6 months. And that was when we have had our second wave, and people have started dying. In fact, in February, we got the most fatalities throughout the time that we have had COVID. So there was some sort of panic in the ministry to find vaccines. We targeted in our vaccine plan to vaccinate 20 million Ghanaians for our herd immunity. So in our efforts to get vaccines, we have registered with COVAX for big volumes, registered African Medicine Supply Platform for big volumes, but we thought that we couldn't wait for 6 months. So let us find something to fill the gap, especially to maintain the vaccine hesitancy challenge we had overcome after the president and the big people like you had vaccinated in public for Ghanaians to notice that there wouldn't be any challenges with vaccines. Our fear was that if you stop vaccination for a long period, it might come back again. So we needed to go this way. Now, presently, if you ask me whether I will go back for a private thing or not, my answer will be no. Why? Because my appetite and the enthusiasm we had around that time to sign this contract is no more there. Why? Because the delivery schedules that have been promised by COVAX is very close now. We are now about mid-July, and by end July, early August, we may begin to receive doses from COVAX. That is the arrangement we have for vaccine supplies into the country now. The African Medicine Supply Platform had shifted us from AstraZeneca to Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson had not been approved by Ghana FDA, and they also gave us indications of supplies beginning from August. We are now waiting for these platforms to perform. If they fail, that will mean that we may have to start again looking for intermediaries to work on it. And if you look at the strategy that we took in the ministry, honorable colleagues, Though we were looking for close to about 43 million doses. When we got the opportunity to buy Sputnik, we only signed for 3.4 million. Why? Because we thought that we'll get our vaccines to begin to flow. And so we didn't need to lock ourselves up into large volumes of vaccines any longer. That is my explanation. We have other plans that will bring in vaccines as soon as possible. Apart from that, because of the development of scarcity on the globe, there have been pressure from G7, G8, poor countries, WHO, United Nations, to push richer countries that have procured and they were not using to share doses. This mechanism has started working. And if you are lucky, even before the end of July, let's end July by first 2 weeks in August, America has actually given Africa some quantities through the COVAX initiative. They have allocated 1.2 million to Ghana, and I believe within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we may begin to receive such doses as well. So these are extra things that are going to come, and I believe that the 3 types of sources, all of them will not fail us. Again, we have actually signed on with COVAX. Apart from the grant initiative from COVAX, they have also procured some quantities that they will sell for countries that may need additional doses. We have also registered with them, and we are waiting for allocation from that window. That one will be for sale, and we may also have opportunity to be allocated for us to pay and complete our vaccination exercise.
Minister, for the purposes of public consumption, would we take our time to clarify a few things? COVAX. What is COVAX?
COVAX is an initiative by WHO through what we call the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, Gavi. Gavi traditionally supports poor countries to do their immunization for children. So they supply, Ghana inclusive, several other countries included, with doses of different types of vaccines that we use traditionally in various countries, including yellow fever and several other vaccines. Though the country procures some of these vaccines, they give us large quantities to make sure that no child is left without vaccination. So when the pandemic started, WHO inquired about the ability to distribute vaccines and source for funding to procure, to enable poor countries get some vaccines, because they could foresee vaccine inequity across the globe. If you have money, you can buy. If you don't have money, you cannot get. So Gavi set up COVAX as an initiative to try to solicit support in terms of funding. And as I speak, they have raised close to about 10 billion. They have done advanced market commitments, paid to manufacturers who are developing vaccines even before they finish their trials, such that they can lay hands on them, as much as the richer countries were doing. So now COVAX has invested close to 9 billion, committed to procure vaccines for poorer countries. The only problem is manufacturing availability now. So that is what COVAX is targeting to do for Africa. They have registered what they call the advanced market commitment countries, about 92, including Ghana, that will get vaccines. Initially, they said 20% of your population for free, and you could buy on their second allocation that said they have allocated. When these scarcity issues came up, and then richer countries decided to donate some, they have now even increased the 20% to 30%. But we are waiting for vaccines to begin to see how best we can go.
Hello, Minister. Still, for the purposes of clarity and consumption of the public, do we say the COVAX is allowing for purchases by poorer countries of vaccines at a reduced price, at a cheaper price?
I'll not be able to answer this question, but I know COVAX does bulk procurement together with UNICEF, that is the agent. And I believe when you are buying that much and doing commitments and putting money up front, they have their negotiations and they will know what prices to procure them.
Do you know the price of Pfizer vaccine on the market as to your first delivery of Pfizer to Ghana, can you tell us of it now, if you know the price to Ghana and the current price in the market?
No, please.
Yes, Honorable Farouk.
Thank you very much. Mr. Minister, I think in your attachments, Exhibit 6, there's no attachments to. Can you confirm? Oh, you have it? Oh, okay, that's a copy of it. Thank you. Mr. Minister, what accounted for the ministry's inability to rely on Section 20 and other relevant sections of the Prospective Approval of Process and Procedures?
Honorable Chair, can my colleague go over the question, please?
I said, what accounted for the ministry's inability to rely on Section 20 and other relevant sections for prospective approval of processes and procedures?
Can you please?
In other words,
Section 20.
The Procurement Act provides that certain steps be taken in your choice of process. He's asking, in plain words, why didn't you seek prior approval of PPA?
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chair, I thought in my initial answers to some of the questions, I mentioned that my motivation to have gone beyond some of these due processes lie in the fact that an emergency had been declared, and even the Procurement Act, you could do certain things in an emergency. And that is where I drew my inspiration from, to go ahead pending ratification on what I have actually done.
Thank you, Minister. In your exhibits, I saw you doing a letter of ratification to PPA, but have you gotten a response from PPA on the ratification?
Yes, PPA has not finished the ratification yet. They sent a letter that it will take them 3 months to do the ratification. They will also come and do investigations, but that exercise has not been completed. They have been to the ministry once, and we are still waiting for their ratification.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, okay.
Exhibit 6, so we are doing copies. Honorable Minister, the document he was referring to is here, so we'll do copies for all members. I think it got out in one of them. Yes, I have seen mine. I've shared it with them. They will do copies. Don't worry about that. Honorable, are you done? Okay. Honorable Member for Ashama, you have your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I saw a letter to the Russian embassy with an intent to procure these vaccines from the government. But I've not seen response from the Russian government to that effect. I'll forgive you. Because of some other parliamentary engagements, you were unable to start with us. You are unavoidably, not late, but unavoidably, you delayed your coming. He answered to that, but for your sake, he would emphasize that. Minister, at the risk of being repetitive, provide that answer one more time.
That risk meaning you might not get the same words and the same phrases as I used earlier. That is acceptable. I've tried to explain that we didn't get responses from these sources.
Yes, But, Mr. Minister, what about the foreign mission here? When the responses did not come, are you able to tell us whether the Minister of Foreign Affairs escalated this by engaging the Russian mission in Ghana?
In one of our meetings, it was advised that the Minister for Foreign Affairs engages the Russian embassy here in Ghana. And then the COVID Command Center also informed me that they had had an engagement with the embassy, and they mentioned, and I want to stress again, because some of my colleagues were telling me in the chamber.
Minister, we don't refer to what your colleagues have told you. Please, they are not on oath. You go ahead.
So that question can best be answered by the Foreign Minister.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, to be fair to the Minister, if he's referring to comments from colleagues on the floor of the House, which is part of our records, he's free to do so.
Thank you.
I am interested in that bit of the foreign mission of Russia in Ghana. You are saying that you've been told that there was an engagement with the mission.
Saying that, let me correct myself. In one of our COVID task force meetings, I engaged the Foreign Minister to try to see if he can engage a Russian embassy in Ghana to let us get through. The outcome, I think when she meets with you, I understand she had been invited, she will be in a better position to answer to that question.
Now, Honorable Yafo, you will have to. Council. Monday. So let me take you through.
Honorable Chair, if you may, I will please indulge you to remind you of the engagement I've had with you earlier.
We are mindful of that. We are not exceeding that.
Thank you.
So don't worry. We are very mindful and we act in good faith. Now, Honorable Minister, if you look at the contract for the supply of the vaccine, that is exhibit MOH1. Clearly, the terms of the contract were breached. Specifically, the timelines for the supply. Yet, you accommodated them. What accounted for that?
Honorable Chair, I was acting in good faith. Our LC delayed, and therefore I found it very difficult to invoke breach of supply dates. You know, the contract was to be operationalized by orders and LCs. And when your LC had actually delayed, you can't actually enforce and push that they had breached the delivery dates as contained in the agreement. So they kept us informing us of their capacity to deliver in 2 weeks, then they said in July. And since we were still looking for vaccines, and we have gone into this situation, I found it very, how do I call it, awkward to actually start invoking termination clauses in the agreement. Thank you.
Now, will you say, you look at your exhibit, MOH1.
You're live on JoyNews desk. What we're watching is the Sputnik V public probe. It's a parliamentary committee, a 9-member committee, which has been set up to look into the purchase of Sputnik V vaccines for the country. Health Minister Kweku Ajimaimenu is currently before the committee. We'll take a quick breather. We'll be right back.